Okay, so let's dive right in. We've been tracking some, seriously sophisticated cyber threats out there,
Hmm.
particularly those zeroing in on organizations like law firms. These aren't your typical brute force attacks. They're using incredibly clever social engineering.
Yeah, and the impact is just devastating. We're talking
Yeah.
huge financial hits, reputations ruined, sometimes even businesses folding completely.
It really is a stark reminder, isn't it, that sometimes the weakest link, well, it isn't the firewall.
Exactly. It's the person using the computer. These attacks are so personalized, designed to just bypass technical defenses by, exploiting trust, human nature.
Precisely. So our mission today is to kind of take a deep dive into the anatomy of these attacks.
Okay.
We're going to shine a light on a specific group that's been really active. They go by a few names, like the Silent Ransom Group.
Ah, yes, them. Also Luna Moth, Chatty Spider. They have a few aliases.
Right. We'll break down exactly how they operate and, maybe most importantly, explore the most effective ways to defend against them. It's got to be a mix, right? Technical security and that crucial human element.
Absolutely. And, while groups like Silent Ransom have been hitting law firms hard lately, their tactics, they work anywhere.
Good point.
So the defenses we'll discuss, they're relevant to you listening right now, no matter what kind of sensitive information your organization handles.
Definitely. Now, before we get any further, I just want to quickly mention that this deep dive is brought to you by Stonefly.
Ah, great folks.
Yeah, they're leaders in enterprise storage, backup, and disaster recovery solutions. They also do AI storage and cloud solutions now, too.
Really cutting edge stuff.
Totally. And if you're thinking about secure, genuinely ransomware-proof storage, Stonefly specializes in things like air-gapped and immutable storage, designed specifically to protect your critical data, even if other defenses somehow get bypassed.
Which, as we're discussing, can happen.
Exactly. You can reach out to them at sales@stonefly.com to schedule a demo. Definitely worth checking out.
So, okay, let's start with the why. Why law firms? Why are they such prime targets? It's more than just the data, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, sure, there's a perception of wealth, but practically speaking, they handle huge sums of money.
Through trust accounts, client transactions.
Exactly. High-value financial movements are constant. And, this isn't entirely new. Historically, even before sophisticated cyber stuff, lawyers were losing big money, hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions, to fraud targeting these very processes.
And the group really capitalizing on this vulnerability right now, the one the FBI is specifically warning about, is this Silent Ransom Group.
UNC 3753, Luna Moth, all the same crew.
Right. Been around since 2022, but that laser focus on U.S. law firms, that really picked up steam in spring 2023.
And they've got history, right? Links to older ransomware groups.
Yeah, connections to the operators behind Ryuk and Conti have been suggested. But their current method, that's what's really unique. Heavy reliance on social engineering.
Specifically callback phishing.
Callback phishing, exactly. Walk us through that. How does that scam typically work?
It's pretty insidious, really. It usually starts with an email. Looks like an invoice, maybe for a subscription you might plausibly have, like...
Ooh, fake Zoho Masterclass, Duolingo, something like that.
Exactly. Looks legit. Often has a PDF invoice attached. Sometimes the sender address is slightly off, spoofed, but easy to miss.
And the key is the phone number.
Right. The invoice says, call this number immediately to cancel this charge. Creates urgency.
So the victim calls, thinking they're reaching customer support.
But they're not. They're calling the attacker's call center. And this is where the interactive social engineering really kicks in.
The agent on the phone convinces them they need remote access to fix the problem.
Exactly. They guide the victim into starting a remote support session using perfectly legitimate tools. Things like Zoho Assist are common.
Okay, so they get remote access.
And then they trick the user into downloading and installing other remote tools, remote administration tools, or RATs. Think Atera, Splashtop, Synchro, AnyDesk.
These give the attackers persistent access, right? They can come back later.
Precisely. But, they're evolving. They don't always stick to one method.
And that's the really alarming part, the recent shift. As of March 2025, the FBI reported they started bypassing the email step entirely in some cases. Just cold calling employees, unsolicited calls claiming to be from internal IT.
Wow.
They'll say something like, we need to do some urgent overnight work on your machine, or we need remote access for maintenance. And they talk people into granting it right then and there.
That's terrifyingly simple. Bypasses email filters everything.
It does. And you mentioned the tools they use, Zoho Assist, Synchro, AnyDesk, Atera, plus file transfer tools like WinSCP, rclone. Why is using legitimate software so well, clever.
Because it makes them almost invisible. These aren't viruses in the traditional sense.
Right. They're tools legitimate IT departments use every day. So they often leave minimal forensic traces. Traditional antivirus might not flag them at all. It's looking for known bad files.
So once they're in, using these tools, what's the goal? It's not always encryption like old school ransomware, is it?
Not typically for this group. Their primary goal seems to be quick data exfiltration. Get in, find sensitive data, get it out.
And they can do that fast. You mentioned WinSCP, sometimes even a portable version.
Yeah, doesn't even need installation. That means they can often grab data without needing top-level admin rights. Just user-level access might be enough to find valuable files.
And then comes the extortion.
Exactly. After they have the data, the emails and phone calls start. Pay us, or we release or sell everything we took.
Threaten to publish it. Do they always follow through?
Their use of data leak sites seems inconsistent. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but the credible threat of a breach is often enough pressure.
And the impact. We touched on it, but the numbers are stark. There was a report looking at the true costs.
Yeah, beyond just the ransom. Things like revenue loss, 66% reported significant loss.
Over half, 53%, saw damage to their brand, their reputation.
A third, 32%, lost C-level executives over it.
Nearly 30%, 29% had to lay off staff. Financial strain.
And incredibly, 26% reported the attack forced their business to close, at least temporarily.
It's staggering. And the ransom amounts themselves, 35% paid between $350,000 and $1.4 million.
And 7% paid over $1.4 million. The stakes are incredibly high.
Okay, so given this landscape, this sophisticated threat, how do we build a robust defense? You said it starts with technical controls, even though the attack vector is human.
Absolutely. Strong technical controls are foundational. You need to make unauthorized access as difficult as possible in the first place.
And one control that comes up constantly, specifically recommended by the FBI against groups like Silent Ransom, is MFA, multifactor authentication.
MFA. It's essentially adding another lock on the door. Not just something you know, like your password.
But something you have, like your phone or a security key.
Exactly. Or even something you are, like a fingerprint.
Yeah.
So even if an attacker steals your password, maybe through phishing, they still can't log in without that second factor.
Implementing it isn't just flipping a switch, though, is it? It needs planning.
Definitely. You need to understand your environment, cloud, hybrid, on-prem apps, and how MFA fits in.
And then choose the methods. How do users actually do the second factor?
Right. You need to balance security and usability. Options range from authenticator apps on smartphones, which are very common.
Like Microsoft Authenticator or Google Authenticator.
Precisely. To physical FIDO2 security keys, maybe oath tokens, even SMS or voice calls, though those are generally seen as less secure now.
So the Authenticator app is often a good balance.
For many, yes. But the critical thing is enabling more than one method for each user. For recovery, if you lose your phone, you need another way in.
And you don't always need MFA for every single login, constantly nagging users.
Correct. That's where intelligent policies come in, often called conditional access policies.
Yeah.
These let you require MFA only when the risk warrants it, like for administrators logging in or accessing critical apps, or maybe if someone's logging in from an unfamiliar location or a device that seems risky.
So it's targeted. Reduces friction, but adds security where needed.
Exactly. Getting MFA rolled out for all employees is a major technical step forward against these threats.
But circling back to that IT impersonation call, even with MFA on the account, if someone gets tricked into allowing a remote session.
That bypasses the MFA login challenge, potentially. Which brings us right back to the human element. It's not just important, it's absolutely critical.
So cybersecurity training and awareness, it's more than just ticking a box.
Oh, absolutely. It's arguably your single best defense against social engineering and things like business email compromise, especially because the attackers' tactics change so fast. They're even using AI now to make their lures more convincing.
And in some fields, like law, it's becoming mandatory, right? Not just a good idea.
Increasingly, yes. We see examples like in Victoria, Australia, with specific cybersecurity rules for lawyers. Users of certain electronic transaction platforms often have training requirements, too. Failure to train staff adequately can actually lead to disciplinary action.
So what should comprehensive training cover?
The practical stuff. How to spot phishing emails? Sure. But also recognizing social engineering on the phone vital against Silent Ransom's tactics. Password best practices, safe web browsing, and crucially, what to do if you suspect something's wrong. Who do you call? What steps do you take immediately?
And it can't be a one-and-done thing.
Absolutely not. Needs to be ongoing. Induction for new hires, regular refreshers, at least annually for everyone else. And the content must be kept current. Training from 2 years ago might miss today's threats.
The payoff seems clear, though.
Huge benefits. Protects data, obviously. Creates a more security-aware culture. Improves incident response. Boosts reputation. And honestly, it saves a ton of money by preventing breaches.
You mentioned a specific technique earlier, especially for financial requests, out of band checking.
Yes, vital, absolutely vital practice. It just means if you get an instruction, especially about changing bank details or wiring money, you must verify it using a completely separate communication channel.
So if you get an email asking to change payment details,
don't reply to the email. Don't call the number in the email. Pick up the phone and call the vendor or client using a number you already know is legitimate, one you have on file separately. Or use another secure channel you trust. Verbally confirm the request.
Simple, but effective.
Very. Stops a lot of fraud in its tracks.
Okay, so pulling it all together, it sounds like the best strategy isn't just tech or just training. It's layered.
Exactly. It's not a silver bullet situation. You need those strong technical controls like MFA everywhere, combined with a continuously trained, aware, skeptical workforce.
Tech and people working together.
That's the goal. Seamless integration. Now, prevention is always key, but risk management also means thinking about what happens if something does go wrong.
Which brings us to insurance.
Right. Understanding your insurance coverage is part of the picture.
And insurance for social engineering losses. Sounds like it might have been tricky historically.
It definitely has been. Old-style crime policies often excluded losses where money was voluntarily parted with, meaning if you were tricked into sending it, it might not be covered.
Because you technically authorized the payment.
Exactly. And older cyber policies often focused on actual system breaches, network hacks. Social engineering didn't always fit neatly into those definitions.
So the insurance market had to adapt.
It did. Now, you commonly see specific social engineering fraud or electronic crime extensions or endorsements on commercial crime or cyber policies.
Ah, okay. So coverage exists.
It does, but you really need to read the fine print. These extensions often have lower payout limit sublimits than the main policy.
Less coverage than for, say, a ransomware attack.
Often, yes. And there might be specific conditions, like maybe they require you to prove you use things like out-of-band checking for payments over a certain amount. And remember, any payout under that social engineering part usually reduces the total amount available under your policy for any cyber incident that year. So it erodes your overall limit.
So, bottom line, review your policy carefully. Talk to your broker or insurer specifically about social engineering coverage.
Absolutely critical conversation to have. Don't assume you're covered or how much you're covered for.
Well, this has been incredibly insightful, a real deep dive into a threat that's clearly complex and constantly shifting.
Yeah, I think the key takeaways are pretty clear, though. Sophisticated social engineering like Silent Ransom Group's callback phishing and IT impersonation, it's a major, costly threat, especially for organizations swimming in sensitive data and handling money.
And the defense.
Yeah.
It has to be multi-layered. Foundational tech like MFA rolled out widely.
Absolutely. Plus that continuous up-to-date investment in your people. Training, awareness, making sure everyone understands the risks and their role in prevention. Vigilance isn't just a word here, it's essential. And it does make you stop and think, doesn't it? You can have the most advanced security tech stack in the world. And yet, a simple, well-crafted phone call, playing on someone's trust or willingness to help, could potentially bypass it all.
It really highlights the enduring power, maybe even the increasing importance of human skepticism, critical thinking, and just that ongoing training in this whole fight.
Couldn't agree more.
A powerful thought to leave with. And as we've discussed, building that truly comprehensive defense also means protecting your most critical asset, your data, with robust storage and backup.
Absolutely fundamental, which brings us back to our sponsor, Stonefly.
Right. They're leaders in enterprise storage, backup, disaster recovery, AI storage, cloud solutions, the whole package.
And they offer those ransomware-proof solutions we mentioned, air-gapped, immutable storage, designed precisely to safeguard your data, even when sophisticated attacks like social engineering get through other layers.
Definitely worth exploring. You can contact Stonefly at sales@stonefly.com to schedule a demo and learn more.
Pay them out.
Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive today. Stay vigilant out there.